How do you pour a 4.5 pound pure copper spearhead? You might be asking, why would you wanna? I'll explain both, how I'm gonna make it and why. To pour 4.5 pounds of copper is pretty challenging. I'm gonna go with an open mold because 3,000 years ago, this is probably how the original one was made. I'm modeling these off some of the oldest, largest spearheads ever found. They were dug up in Kfar, Menashe, Israel. I used all the documentation for the excavation reports to make the template. I packed it up in sand that's compacted with oil. Originally, I think this one would have probably been just carved into the ground and poured metal into that. With modern equipment, it's a challenge. Imagine 3,000 years ago. What I'm attempting today is to have 2 crucibles and pour one right after the other. You can see with these leather gloves, it's almost burning the gloves off. The longer we're holding on to those crucibles, the more the gloves start to smoke. I gotta say, this was a little unnerving. Before everything was hot, we practiced each choreographed movement. You can see this copper's hot, but it's not melted yet. Let me explain the challenge. One person's gonna go in there, grab this crucible, pour it, set it down, go in, grab the other one, pour it. There's gonna be a gap between the two. If you've never poured hot metal before, it's pretty intense. There's no room for error. Gloves, boots, anything you can do to stay safe. Did I mention, don't try this at home? First crucible down, let's go ahead and grab the other one. You can see the gap in here. If we had extra tongs and gloves, we could have another person grab this so we wouldn't have that gap in the middle. We don't want the metal in the mold cooling down while we're pouring this hotter stuff on top. Now, just in case we need to adjust the mold, we can move the mold up and down with that jack you see down there. Now, we've got some big exhaust fans on either side of the room here. You can see the oil and the sand and the cardboard's catching on fire. After about 5 minutes, the flame's going down a bit. We'll spray a little bit of water on it and pull it out and see what we got. Now, the mold isn't completely filled up, but this thing's still pretty cool. We'll pull this thing out of here, put it in the sink, get it all nice and cool. Everybody that picks this thing up says, wow, that thing's heavy. I didn't want to just look at a picture of this thing in the museum. I wanted to feel it. I want to put this thing on a big old weaver's beam, swing it around and see what it really feels like. Let's put this thing into perspective. I wonder how big Goliath's spearhead was compared to this. So this one's around 5 pounds. Goliath's was 16. I'm happy with the first attempt.